I got a phone call 3 weeks ago that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. It was from Margaret. She's 72, retired elementary school teacher, lives alone in Portland. Margaret called me crying, but not the sad kind of crying. She said, "Dr. Chen, I just carried my groceries up 2 flights of stairs, both bags, no stopping." Now you might be wondering why that made her cry. 6 months ago, Margaret couldn't walk from her car to her front door without her daughter's help. Her legs would shake, her balance was gone. She'd started talking about assisted living. What changed wasn't a new medication. It wasn't physical therapy. It wasn't some expensive program. It was 5 specific foods, simple foods you can find at any grocery store. And the way they work is something most doctors never explain, even though the research has been hiding in plain sight for years. I'm Dr. Maria Chen. I've spent 28 years working in geriatric nutrition, and today I'm going to tell you Margaret's story and the 5 foods that gave her back her independence. Because what happened to Margaret can happen to you, too. Let me start by telling you what nobody told Margaret for years. Her muscles weren't disappearing because she was getting older. They were disappearing because her body had lost the ability to hear the signal that protein sends. Think of it like this. When you're young, eating protein is like ringing a doorbell. Your muscles hear it clearly. They open the door. They let the protein in. They use it to rebuild. But somewhere around 60, that doorbell starts getting quieter. Not because there's less protein, but because your muscle cells develop what scientists call anabolic resistance. The doorbell's ringing, but your muscles can't hear it anymore. Margaret didn't know any of this. She just knew she felt weaker every month. She'd eat chicken. She'd drink protein shakes. Nothing changed. Her daughter took her to 3 different doctors. They all said the same thing. It's normal aging. Stay active. But here's what those doctors missed. There are specific foods that don't just ring the doorbell, they pound on the door. They shout through the window. They make absolutely sure your muscles hear the signal. And once Margaret started eating these foods, her body remembered how to build muscle again, even at 72. The day everything changed for Margaret was a Tuesday in March. She'd fallen in her kitchen. Not a bad fall, just a stumble. But it scared her daughter enough to drive over. They sat at Margaret's kitchen table, the one with the yellow tablecloth Margaret had sewn herself 30 years ago. Her daughter started talking about assisted living, showing her brochures. Margaret told me later that she felt like her life was ending. That's when her daughter mentioned something she'd read about a nutrition study, something about specific foods helping older adults rebuild muscle. Margaret wasn't hopeful. She'd tried everything. But she was desperate enough to try one more thing. Her daughter helped her make a plan. 5 foods. Specific amounts, specific times. The first week, nothing happened. Margaret almost quit. The second week, she noticed something small. She could stand up from her couch without using her arms. Just once, but it happened. The third week, she walked to her mailbox without stopping to rest. By week 6, she was carrying light groceries again. And 3 weeks ago, 2 full bags, up 2 flights of stairs. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds too simple, too easy. But let me show you the science behind what happened in Margaret's body. Because once you understand this, you'll see why these 5 foods work when everything else fails. The first food Margaret started eating was Greek yogurt. and I need you to forget everything you think you know about yogurt. This isn't about calcium. This isn't about probiotics. This is about something called leucine. That's spelled Leucine, pronounced leucine. Leucine is an amino acid, but it's not just any amino acid. It's the Foreman at the construction site of your muscles. When leucine shows up, it tells your muscle cells, start building right now. Greek yogurt has 3 times more leucine than regular yogurt. And here's the part that matters for people over 60. Leucine in Greek yogurt comes packaged in a way your aging digestive system can actually absorb. Margaret started eating 1 cup of plain, full-fat Greek yogurt every morning, within 30 minutes of waking up. Why that timing? Because after sleeping all night, your muscles are in a panic. They're looking for protein. If they don't find it, they start breaking themselves down for energy. That's why so many seniors wake up feeling stiff. Their muscles spent the night eating themselves. Greek yogurt stops that process immediately. Margaret mixed hers with a tablespoon of honey and some walnuts. The honey gave her quick energy. The walnuts added healthy fats that helped her body absorb everything. 1 month after she started this routine, her daughter noticed Margaret was walking faster. Her steps were more confident. Margaret didn't notice it herself until she realized she hadn't thought about falling in 2 weeks. That's when she knew something real was happening. Here's something Margaret told me that still gives me chills. Week 7. She woke up one Wednesday morning and something felt different. She sat up in bed, swung her legs over the side, stood up. No stiffness, no creaking, no pain. For the first time in 3 years, her body just worked. She called me that afternoon. Her voice was shaking. "Dr. Chen, what's happening to me? I feel like I'm 20 years younger." You want to know what caused that? Wild salmon. She'd been eating it twice a week, Tuesday and Friday dinners. Now, before you think this is about omega-3s, let me tell you what's really going on. Wild salmon contains something called astaxanthin. That's Astaxanthin, pronounced as tazanthin. It's what makes the salmon pink. And astaxanthin is 6,000 times more powerful than vitamin C at protecting your muscles from breaking down. Think of your muscles like a garden. Every day they face stress, movement, inflammation, oxidative damage. Most foods water the garden. Salmon puts up a fence around it. But here's the part nobody talks about. Wild salmon provides slow-releasing proteins. Your muscles get fed all night long while you sleep. That's when your body does most of its rebuilding. Margaret baked her salmon at a low temperature, 275 degrees, about 25 minutes. She'd squeeze lemon juice on it before cooking. The acid started breaking down the protein, making it easier for her body to use. And on the days Margaret ate salmon for dinner, she woke up feeling like a different person. Her daughter noticed it too. She said her mom started standing taller, walking with more confidence. Those are the changes that matter, not numbers on a scale. Real life getting easier. The third food was the one Margaret almost skipped: eggs. She'd avoided eggs for 15 years. Her doctor told her they'd raise her cholesterol. But here's what that doctor didn't know. Dietary cholesterol barely affects blood cholesterol in most people. The research on this changed completely, but a lot of doctors never updated their advice. Eggs have something Margaret's muscles desperately needed: choline. That's C-H-O-L-I-N-E, pronounced choline. Choline helps your nerves talk to your muscles. Without enough choline, your brain sends the signal contract, but your muscles don't hear it clearly. That's why some seniors feel weak, even though their muscles are actually still there. The communication broke down. Margaret started eating 2 eggs every morning, soft-boiled, 7-minute eggs. Why soft-boiled? Because the yolk stays creamy. Your digestive system can break it down easily. Hard-boiled eggs with rubbery yolks? Much harder to digest after 60. The first week Margaret ate eggs daily, something unexpected happened. She was gardening, bending down, standing up, bending down, standing up. Normally, her legs would start shaking after 10 minutes. This time, 20 minutes. No shaking. She told me she almost cried right there in her garden, because for the first time in years, she felt like her body was listening to her again. The protein in eggs has what nutritionists call perfect biological value. Your body can use every bit of it, nothing wasted. And the yolks, those golden centers everyone threw away, they contain vitamin B12, selenium, and phosphorus. All of them crucial for muscle function. All of them concentrated in that yolk. Margaret mixed her eggs with spinach and tomatoes. The vitamin C in the tomatoes helped her absorb iron from the eggs. Iron carries oxygen to muscles. Simple combinations. Big results. Now we get to the food that surprised Margaret the most. Quinoa and black beans. She'd never cooked quinoa in her life. Didn't know what it was. Her daughter brought over a bag and showed her how to make it. 1 cup of quinoa, 3/4 cup of black beans, mixed together. Margaret was skeptical. She thought you needed meat to build muscle. But here's what happened. Quinoa and black beans together create a complete protein. All 9 essential amino acids, in perfect proportion. And when you eat them together, something magical happens in your digestive system. The fiber in the beans slows down digestion. That means the protein gets absorbed slowly, steadily. Your muscles get fed for hours. Margaret ate this combination 3 times a week, usually for lunch. She'd cook a big batch on Sunday, add turmeric and black pepper, a tablespoon of olive oil after cooking. The turmeric reduced inflammation. The black pepper helped her body absorb the turmeric. The olive oil carried fat-soluble vitamins to her muscles. Week 8 was when Margaret's daughter asked, "Mom, are you taller?" Margaret laughed. "I'm 72. I'm not getting taller." But she stood against the wall, made a mark. She was standing straighter, 1.5 inches taller than her hunched posture from 6 months ago. Her muscles were strong enough to support her spine again. That's when Margaret really started believing this was working. The quinoa and beans also gave her something unexpected: energy. She'd been taking afternoon naps for 3 years. Every day, 2 hours. After 2 months on this food plan, no naps needed. She had energy all afternoon. Her daughter joked that Margaret was becoming a different person. Margaret said, "No, I'm becoming myself again." The last food on Margaret's list was the strangest one. Tempeh, fermented soybeans pressed into a cake. Margaret had never heard of it, had to go to 3 stores to find it. But this food, this weird-looking block of fermented beans, became her secret weapon. Tempeh has something no other food on this list has: vitamin K2, specifically the MK7 form. This nutrient does something remarkable. It takes calcium out of your muscles and puts it into your bones. Why does that matter? Because after 60, calcium starts depositing in muscle tissue. That's what causes stiffness, that locked-up feeling. Vitamin K2 reverses that process. Margaret steamed her tempeh for 10 minutes, then marinated it in apple cider vinegar, tamari, and ginger. Sliced it. Pan-fried it in coconut oil. The first time she tried it, she thought it tasted like savory nuts. Not bad. Different. She started eating it twice a week, 4 ounces, about 3 hours before bedtime. By month 3, Margaret noticed something she hadn't felt in a decade: flexibility. She bent down to tie her shoe, stood up, no problem. Reached up to a high shelf, no stiffness. Her daughter watched her move around the kitchen one day and said, "You look 20 years younger." Margaret told me that was the day she really understood what had happened. These 5 foods hadn't just made her stronger. They'd given her back her body, her independence, her life. Now, before you run to the grocery store, I need to give you some important guidance. If you're taking blood thinners like warfarin or Coumadin, talk to your doctor before adding these foods. Some of them, especially the leafy greens you might pair with eggs, can affect medication. Your doctor may need to adjust your dosage. If you have kidney disease, the protein amounts need to be adjusted. Don't guess. Ask your doctor. Too much protein can strain compromised kidneys. If you have a soy allergy, skip the tempeh. You can substitute it with fermented dairy like kefir, which also provides vitamin K2. If you have shellfish allergies, be cautious with astaxanthin-rich foods. While salmon itself should be fine, some astaxanthin supplements come from shellfish sources. If you notice any unusual swelling, shortness of breath, or chest pain, those are signs you need medical attention immediately. These foods support muscle health. They don't replace medical care. And if you're on medications for diabetes, your blood sugar might improve with better nutrition. You may need dose adjustments. Monitor closely with your healthcare provider. Margaret's blood sugar improved so much, her doctor reduced her medication by half. This information is educational. It's not a replacement for personalized medical advice. I'm sharing what worked for Margaret and what the research supports. But your situation is unique. Always work with your healthcare team. Margaret called me last week, just to check in. She told me she's started volunteering at her old elementary school, reading to kindergartners, sitting on those tiny chairs, getting up and down 20 times in an hour. 6 months ago, that would have been impossible. Now it's her favorite part of the week. She said, "Dr. Chen, I thought my life was over, but I was just feeding my body the wrong things." I think about Margaret every time I see a patient over 60 struggling with weakness, because what happened to her can happen to anyone. Your muscles are waiting. They want to rebuild. They want to be strong again. They just need the right signals, the right nutrients, the right timing. 5 foods, simple changes, real results. If this story gave you hope, hit that subscribe button, because I'm making videos every week about nutrition strategies that actually work for people over 60. And if you know someone who's struggling with weakness or balance issues, share this video. Margaret's story might be exactly what they need to hear. Next week, I'm going to tell you about the 3 simple movements Margaret added that doubled her strength gains. You won't believe how easy they are. And one of them you can do while sitting in a chair. What you eat matters. How you eat it matters. When you eat it matters. And you're never too old to get stronger. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.